with all the other sporting events and sports leagues being postponed, delayed indefinitely due to the effing COVID-19, I guess there was one positive is that NFL still started its free agency period on time. It still started the offseason on time. And the NFL said, to hell with that. We're the NFL. We're bigger than any virus, and we're going to keep rolling. So they did. And of course, that means that we've had a couple of weeks go by now. Feel relatively safe taking a look back at what my Chicago Bears did in free agency, did this offseason. And I have seen the reactions kind of run the gamut to the typical marquee Bear fans being really, really impressed with what they did for some reason that is unbeknownst to me. I've seen some other sports outlets refer to this as a disaster for the Chicago Bears. And that to me, in and of itself, feels a bit extreme, a bit sensationalized. Yes, this is the same guy that does the skull humping and everything else, mind you. But you have to realize going into this offseason, the Bears did not have a ton of cap space, which meant that they weren't going to be big-time players, make big-time splash moves. It just was not going to happen, especially when you consider the fact that this team, once again, has a significant lack of draft pick capital to be able to spend in order to get their roster better. They still found a way, of course, to blow one of their draft picks. And we'll talk about that here in a moment. But when I look at this offseason, this free agency period for the Bears, there were a lot of different things. And obviously we could talk about quarterback, and we certainly will here in a moment. But there were other needs for this team. Now, what were you going to do at the edge rusher opposite Khalil Mack? Are you really going to pay $13+ million for Leonard Floyd to get you like 3.5 sacks? What are you going to do at tight end? What are you going to do at the other safety opposite Eddie Jackson? Now that you cut Prince Amukamura, no surprise there. What are you going to do at the other corner opposite Kyle Fuller? What are you going to do at right guard? Like there are lots of needs for this team, which is why it's so surprising to me when I see so many people thinking that they were just a quarterback away. Or if they get the quarterback position right, it will automatically take care of everything else. No, it won't. There were other gaps here. There were other flaws here. There were other needs here. You can't just get a quarterback and make it all go away. Sure, certainly that would help. But, it's not the be-all, end-all. The big splash move that the Bears made in free agency in terms of actually signing somebody was signing Robert Quinn away from the Dallas Cowboys. And you look at this deal, it was one of the bigger contracts technically in terms of length of time and overall dollar value given out in free agency. Meaning that outside of the big names on the quarterback market, this wasn't exactly a stellar free agent class. They gave him to the tune of 5 years and $70 million. And on the surface, I would say this about the Robert Quinn deal. 1, Robert Quinn is better than Leonard Floyd. True. 2, he's not going to make that much more than Leonard Floyd would have under the 5th-year option in 2020. True. 3, it's yet another failed first-round pick for general manager Ryan Pace. Kevin White, 2015. Breaks my heart to say it, but it's true. Leonard Floyd, 2016. Mitchell Trubisky, 2017. Maybe there's something to be said about Ryan Pace not having first-round picks because when he does, they end up being dumpster fires anyway, so what the hell's the difference? Well, what concerns me about the Robert Quinn deal is while he's been relatively healthy the past couple of seasons, in the past, I think it was like 2015, 2016, he missed like half the season due to injury each time. Then you're also talking about a guy here that you look at the season he had in Dallas, it was a good one. It was also in a different scheme. When he had moved to the 3-4, it felt like he started to struggle a little bit. Then he goes and plays under that 4-3 in Dallas, has kind of a little bit of a resurgence season, coincidentally, magically, in a contract year. And now the Bears are bringing him in to play in this 3-4. You might say, well, there were other needs that were more pressing, and you could certainly make that argument, yes, especially if you're going to spend big money in free agency. But then you can also say that this is a team that has largely ignored the edge rush position in the draft. They needed a more competent, viable threat on the outside, opposite of Khalil Mack, and I feel like they've at least gotten that. Is this going to be a contract that long term looks great? I don't know, and I don't know if that does necessarily matters. Did they upgrade? Like if you looked in a vacuum and you said Robert Quinn or Leonard Floyd, who would you rather have? The answer to me would be Robert Quinn all day. Now, there's an argument for me to be made of would I have rather taken a flyer on somebody like a Vic Beasley? Would I have rather brought in somebody in like a Dante Fowler, both guys who got less money? Maybe. But out of the moves that Ryan Pace made in the offseason, this is the one that I criticize the least. The Jimmy Graham deal, on the other hand, just seems all types of dumb. Now, the vastly superior organization in your division, the Green Bay Packers, had Jimmy Graham, were so impressed with him after one season. I don't care what you want to say about contract numbers or anything else. They let him go. So Ryan Pace looked at him and said, oh, that's got to be 2012 New Orleans Saints Jimmy Graham. I want me all of these. And then you pay him in 2020 like he's a top 10 tight end in the league, which he hasn't been for several years now. I think it's striking how consistently wrong Ryan Pace gets the tight end position. And if you're going to say, well, Jimmy Graham could have one great year, okay, well, then why didn't he have it in Green Bay with a vastly better offense and, more importantly, a vastly, significantly better quarterback in Aaron Rodgers? And you're going to pay him big money? That was just dumb. It made no damn sense whatsoever. Like, what the hell are you doing? I was a little surprised to see them re-sign Danny Trevathan and actually re-sign him for multiple years. As I look at that and I say, would I rather have him or Kwiatkowski? And maybe you could argue when he's healthy, Trevathan is better than Kwiatkowski. That could be certainly true. The problem with that statement is when Danny Trevathan is healthy. And over the past few seasons, he's consistently had trouble staying healthy. With Kwiatkowski, you've got a younger option, arguably cheaper option, better option, maybe, maybe not. But Nick DeQuick balled out pretty well last year. And by signing Trevathan, you lose Kwiatkowski, you lose Kevin Pierre-Louis. That to me was just kind of a questionable move right there. Why would you do that? Nick, I thought, showed you enough to want to invest in him. And especially when you look at what he got from the Las Vegas Raiders, it wasn't that prohibitive to keep him. So that was another one I didn't really get. And it felt like this team was trying to gamble on former first-round failures for other teams. Barkevius Mingo and Artie Burns and Germain Ifedi. Oh, that's going to get the old cock hard. Now, you could say that, hey, you're gambling on guys that were once perceived to be first-round talents. Well, you can make that argument about gambling on talent that just has been unfulfilled and unrealized. But sometimes you can also say that those guys just shouldn't have been first-round picks to begin with. Ifedi should have never been a first-round pick. Artie Burns should have never been a first-round pick. Barkevius Mingo was a 6th overall pick in 2013, and that draft was historically bad, like damn near 1992 levels of bad. So in a vacuum, they were first-round picks, yeah, but they weren't any damn good. Now, maybe it's worth the gamble. It's not like it costs you any money, but still. These guys aren't going to move the needle for you. Clinton Dix ends up leaving. You retain Deion Bush for another year, so you could certainly argue that safety opposite Eddie Jackson is still a need. You could argue that right guard is certainly a need, because it most certainly is. I could still damn argue tight end is a freaking need. I could still argue the second corner opposite Kyle Fuller is still a need. So when you look at this team and what they did in the offseason, the biggest troubling thing was outside of edge rusher, where I do feel they got better. You could look at almost every other position where they made a move and still argue that that's a need. And that's not how this should work. And then you get to quarterback. And what more can you really say? Jacksonville intentionally overpaid for Nick Foles in free agency last year because they wanted to send a statement. 1 year later, they were desperate to dump him. So not only were the Bears a clown show by not forcing the Jaguars to give up a more premium pick as part of the deal in order to take on Foles' contract, even if you reworked it. This whole fantasy that Foles is going to come in and be the elixir that stirs the drink that saves everything for the Chicago Bears is just ridiculous. The Eagles won a Super Bowl with him and allowed him to go. The Jacksonville Jaguars, after 1 year and intentionally overpaying him, the same GM who made yet another mistake at the quarterback position, David Caldwell, decided he was ready to move on for Minshew Magic. So Ryan Pace took one look and said, hey, that's the best I can do. Small potatoes and again, almost exactly like the type of move you would make to say that you did something in the offseason at the position, but you still want to give Trubisky, for some damn reason, every opportunity in the world to be the starter in 2020. Clown show stuff. So quarterback is still a need. Quarterback is still your biggest need, and it's certainly not going to get addressed well here in the draft because they've got too many other damn needs. And even if they did address the quarterback position, do you have any faith at all in the world that Ryan Pace would get it right? Hell no. Why the hell would you? So while it wasn't a total disaster for the Chicago Bears, I don't see where this offseason has gotten this team a whole lot better. They lost one of the few draft picks they actually did have, dealing it off to get Nick Foles. Christ almighty, get ready for more mediocrity on the midway in 2020, period.